Good evening. I'm Alex Mercer, and with me, as always, is Tokyo. It's 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're interrupting our scheduled programming for breaking news. Multiple meteorological agencies, NASA, the European Space Agency, the World Meteorological Organization, are confirming what many had feared was impossible. The planet is entering a rapid cooling event. Temperatures worldwide are dropping at an unprecedented rate, up to 15 degrees Celsius lower than seasonal averages in just the past 12 hours. What began as a strange atmospheric anomaly has become a global emergency.
Alex, I've been scanning live data from multiple weather centers. This isn't regional, it's planetary. Satellite infrared imagery shows massive changes in the jet stream, polar air masses pushing far south, and atmospheric dust density rising. There are reports of snowfall in southern Spain, frost in Egypt, and power grids collapsing across Canada and northern Europe. Officials are calling it a once-in-human-history event, but as of this hour, no one is certain why.
Let's start with what scientists do know. NOAA and NASA have released a joint preliminary statement. Global average temperatures have dropped 6.2 degrees Celsius in less than a week. The change is consistent with a sudden reduction in solar radiation reaching Earth's surface. In plain language, less sunlight is reaching us. Astronomers are confirming an increase in stratospheric particulates, fine dust high in the atmosphere, that could be scattering sunlight back into space. Theories are emerging. Some point to volcanic activity, others to changes in solar output. But none fully explain the speed of the shift.
And Alex, what's terrifying is the human reaction. Supermarkets in northern countries are emptying. Power demand is surging beyond capacity. People are lighting fires in city streets for warmth. Social media is filled with videos of frozen crops and dead livestock. Food supplies collapsing in real time. We've always imagined climate change as heat, rising seas, drought. But no one imagined the world freezing this fast.
We're now learning that something is happening with Earth's orbit. Data from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory indicates a measurable shift in the planet's axial tilt. The tilt, known as obliquity, determines how sunlight is distributed across Earth. Even a small change, 1 or 2 degrees, can drastically alter climate patterns. Scientists are suggesting this may be the trigger. Combined with a decrease in solar radiation, this shift could initiate a chain reaction, ice expanding from the poles, ocean currents disrupted, and the beginning of a new ice age.
That's hard to even process, Alex. We think of ice ages as ancient, as something that took thousands of years to develop. But if orbital mechanics and solar dimming are aligning now, it could happen within human lifetimes, maybe within months. We're seeing the first signs already. The North Atlantic current is slowing. Sea ice has doubled in thickness in less than a week. This isn't theoretical anymore. It's happening.
I'm reading a statement from the United Nations Climate Council. The Earth appears to be entering a period of rapid glaciation. While long-term causes may include orbital variations, immediate triggers remain under investigation. All nations are advised to prepare for sustained cooling. That phrase, sustained cooling, is an understatement. Model projections suggest global mean temperature could fall another 10 degrees over the next year. That would make large parts of the northern hemisphere uninhabitable.
Governments are mobilizing militaries for emergency logistics. There's talk of mass relocation, moving populations southward. But where do 8 billion people go? Alex, we're watching civilization try to outrun ice. It's like watching history rewind. The same forces that shaped continents, now threatening everything we've built.
Let's go deeper into the science. The Earth's climate is controlled by several cycles known as Milankovitch cycles. The shape of our orbit, eccentricity, the tilt of our axis, obliquity, and the wobble of our rotation, precession. When these align in certain ways, sunlight reaching Earth decreases enough to trigger long-term glaciation. That's what caused previous ice ages, but this time there's a twist. Data shows the tilt of the planet decreased by 1.4 degrees in a matter of weeks. That's not natural variation. Something, possibly gravitational interaction or solar instability, accelerated the process.
So we're witnessing the same mechanism that started ice ages before, but sped up 1,000-fold. Nature flipping a switch we thought was locked. What I keep thinking about, Alex, is how small we are in all this. We build cities, economies, digital worlds, and one shift in the planet's posture, one flicker of the sun, undoes it all.
Reports are coming in from across the world. The Thames River in London is frozen solid for the first time since 1814. Crops in North America are failing. In India, snow is falling in regions that have never seen it. Satellites confirm a massive expansion of polar ice. Nearly 200,000 square kilometers in the past 48 hours. That's roughly the size of the United Kingdom, added in ice in 2 days.
And people are already calling it the White Fall, the beginning of a long night. Religious leaders are holding vigils. Scientists are warning that if this continues, carbon dioxide levels will drop as plant life slows, creating a feedback loop that accelerates cooling even more. The very breath of the planet is freezing.
We have a live update from the European Space Agency. Solar output, the amount of energy radiating from the sun, has declined by 0.8% in 2 weeks. That may not sound like much, but it's catastrophic. The sun is entering what's called a grand solar minimum, a prolonged phase of reduced activity that can last decades or centuries. Combined with orbital changes, this is a perfect storm. Earth's natural thermostat is being turned down.
And it's triggering everything we rely on: weather, agriculture, ocean life. Scientists are saying the cooling could reshape coastlines, freeze shipping lanes, and collapse the global food network. I keep thinking of our ancestors, Alex, the ones who lived through the last ice age. They survived by fire, by moving south, by huddling together in caves. Now we have technology, but emotionally, we're in the same position, staring into the cold, wondering if the warmth will ever come back.
The World Food Program has declared a global emergency. Crops are failing across temperate regions. Corn and wheat yields have dropped 70%. Meanwhile, glaciologists in Greenland report that the ice sheets are advancing 10 times faster than last year. We're witnessing the rapid onset of continental ice formation.
And yet, there's this eerie beauty in it. The images from satellites are haunting. Swirls of white across continents, oceans glittering with frozen reflection. The world looks calm, almost peaceful from space. But down here, there's panic. Families huddled under blankets, airports shut down, nations turning inward. It's strange. The quieter the planet gets, the louder our fear becomes.
We're beginning to understand the mechanism. As solar energy declines and the Earth's orbit elongates, less heat reaches the poles. Ice reflects sunlight, cooling the Earth even more. That's the albedo effect. It's a runaway feedback loop. This is how ice ages start. We're watching the physics unfold in real time.
But understanding it doesn't make it easier to face. Alex, entire generations may never see summer again. Children born today could grow up in a world of snow. Still, humans adapt. We always have. Maybe this will teach us humility, that we're not separate from nature, just guests in its long, shifting rhythm.
Global leaders are meeting in Geneva tonight under emergency conditions. The agenda: coordinating food reserves, relocating populations from high latitudes, developing sustainable heat and shelter technologies. This is humanity's first global survival conference.
It's poetic in a way, It took the planet freezing for us to finally act as one species. No borders, no politics, just survival. And maybe that's what this cycle is about. Every few tens of thousands of years, Earth reminds us that civilization is temporary, but life endures.
For those just joining us, we've spent the last 5 hours covering the most extraordinary event in recorded history. The beginning of a new ice age. The data is clear. Temperatures continue to drop. The oceans are shifting. And yet, through it all, humanity endures. Broadcasting, connecting, refusing to go silent.
And maybe that's what defines us. Not the cities we build or the heat we command, but the stories we tell, even when the fire goes out. The ice will come, Alex, but so will the next spring. Someday. Maybe not for us, but for whoever inherits what we leave behind.
This is Alex Mercer with Tokyo. Reports are flooding in from every hemisphere. Temperatures are dropping faster than models predicted. Meteorological stations across Canada, Russia, and Northern Europe have confirmed that vast sheets of ice are forming across the continents. It's no longer a question of if the ice age has begun. It's here.
Alex, satellite data from the International Climate Observatory shows that glaciers are advancing nearly a kilometer a day in some regions. Entire valleys that were once green are now buried under compacted snow and frozen mist. The Himalayas, the Andes, even parts of the Rocky Mountains, all of them are swelling with ice, merging into colossal glaciers that stretch for hundreds of miles. It's as if Earth's memory of ancient winters has come alive again.
Scientists say the process began quietly. A subtle cooling of ocean currents, the weakening of the Gulf Stream, and the shift in the planet's axial tilt. But once the balance tipped, the transformation was unstoppable. Moisture evaporated from warmer seas, fell as snow, and never melted. Layer upon layer built up, compressing into crystal ice, and that ice began to move, slowly at first, then with purpose, carving its way across the land like a living force.
In Greenland, observers describe the sound as otherworldly, the deep groaning of the ice, as if the planet itself is breathing under pressure. Massive cracks echo through the frozen plains, each one marking the birth of a glacier. What we're witnessing is not just weather, it's geology unfolding in real time. Mountain ranges are being reshaped. Rivers are changing course. Ancient valleys are disappearing beneath kilometers of ice.
Governments have issued evacuation orders for regions north of the 55th parallel. Scandinavian cities are silent, their skylines swallowed by drifting snow. Northern Canada and Siberia are impassable. Even parts of Britain and northern Germany are beginning to freeze solid. The line between livable Earth and the frozen frontier is shifting southward by the day.
And yet, despite the devastation, there's a haunting beauty to it. From orbit, the Earth looks transformed, a vast white marble suspended in darkness. Sunlight glints off the growing ice sheets, reflecting so much heat that the cooling accelerates further. The planet is amplifying its own transformation, spiraling deeper into cold.
Geologists remind us that this has happened before. During the last great ice age, glaciers reached as far south as present-day New York, London, and Berlin. What we're seeing now mirrors that ancient cycle, the rhythm of Earth's climate engine. But this time, the shift is happening in decades, not millennia. Humanity is witnessing in a single lifetime what once took ages to unfold.
People are adapting in real time. Energy grids are failing, agriculture is collapsing, and coastal cities are being abandoned as snow piles higher each day. Yet in the midst of crisis, there's unity, nations sharing power, scientists working without borders, families finding shelter together beneath the endless snow. Maybe, just maybe, this new ice isn't the end. It's a reset.
And as the glaciers keep growing, spreading their reach across continents, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Earth isn't dying. It's evolving. The planet has simply turned a new page, and humanity must learn to survive the next chapter. What began as scattered sheets of ice has now become an empire of frozen continents. The Earth's geography, the very shape of our world, is changing before our eyes. Oceans are retreating, mountains are rising from beneath the sea, and ancient coastlines are vanishing under the rule of the cold. The Ice Age is no longer an event in the atmosphere. It's a sculptor reshaping the bones of the planet itself.
Alex, the satellite data this morning was staggering. Global sea levels have dropped by more than 100 meters. Entire coastlines have shifted. What were once shallow seas have turned into vast plains of frozen mud and wind-blown dust. Across the North Atlantic, the British Isles are no longer islands. They're part of a single frozen landmass stretching into Europe. The outlines of nations are blurring beneath the weight of the ice. The world map we once knew is obsolete.
This retreat of the oceans has revealed something extraordinary. New continents beneath the waves. From the coast of Asia, a vast expanse of land now connects Siberia to North America. Scientists have begun calling it by its ancient name, Beringia. It stretches hundreds of miles, a frozen bridge linking two hemispheres that were once divided by the sea. For the first time in tens of thousands of years, it's possible to walk or migrate from one side of the planet to the other without ever touching water.
That revelation alone has rewritten history. Anthropologists are already speculating that early humans once used this same land bridge during the last great ice age to cross from Asia into the Americas. Now, as the ice returns, nature is recreating that ancient path, a reminder that Earth's cycles are not linear, but circular. What vanished beneath the waves has risen again, and what rises now may one day sink once more.
And Beringia is only the beginning. Between Australia and Southeast Asia, another vast landscape has emerged, the Sahul Shelf, binding what we once called Indonesia, New Guinea, and the Australian mainland into one colossal continent. To the west, the Sunda Shelf has surfaced, exposing valleys and river systems unseen since the last glacial period. Earth's oceans are shrinking, and what they leave behind are memories, ancient riverbeds, fossilized forests, and the footprints of species long extinct.
It's breathtaking and terrifying at the same time. The ocean that once connected humanity is now retreating from us. Harbors have turned to frozen wastelands. Ships lie stranded miles inland, surrounded by ice where waves once touched their hulls. Cities that depended on the sea are collapsing into silence. Trade routes, coastlines, ports, all the arteries of human civilization are being buried under frost. The world is closing in, and the horizon itself feels different now, heavier, more distant.
Glaciologists describe what's happening as planetary respiration. The Earth, they say, is inhaling, pulling water into its frozen lungs. Every cubic mile of ice represents ocean water locked away, stored high on land, trapped for millennia. And when the planet exhales, when the ice age ends, that same water will rush back to reclaim what it once owned. For now, however, the inhale continues, and the sea retreats further every day.
It's reshaping ecosystems as well. Where waves once crashed, tundra now stretches, a frozen wilderness dotted with strange survivors. Mammoths, reindeer, and great herds of musk oxen move across the new plains, following the wind, carving paths into landscapes that no human has ever seen. In the lower latitudes, deserts are expanding. Rainfall patterns have shifted so dramatically that once green regions are now brittle and pale. Earth's balance is tilting. Cold consumes the poles. Drought claims the equator, and the space in between becomes a no man's land of survival.
Human migration has begun in earnest. Populations are moving southward, seeking warmth and fertile ground. What remains of northern civilization is fading, abandoned cities turning into frozen museums, highways buried beneath meters of snow. But in the newly revealed lands, those ancient seabeds now turn solid ground. Pioneers and scientists are setting up temporary stations. The discoveries are astonishing. Fossilized coral reefs exposed to air, remnants of prehistoric coastlines, even traces of ancient human settlements that once lay beneath the sea.
It feels almost symbolic, the past literally rising from the depths while the present freezes in place. Every day, the ocean uncovers something forgotten. Stone tools, preserved bones, the ruins of early civilization swallowed by time. The Ice Age is not just erasing, it's revealing. It's like the planet is peeling back its own history, showing us the hidden chapters written in the language of stone and ice.
Scientists say that when the ice sheets advance, they weigh down the continents beneath them, pressing the Earth's crust deeper into the mantle. In response, the land at the edges, far from the glaciers, rises higher. It's a phenomenon called isostatic rebound. That's why coastlines in the tropics are now climbing skyward, while the polar regions are literally sinking under the weight of the ice. Even the shape of the planet is changing, a subtle but measurable distortion of the globe itself.
And yet, Alex, in the midst of all this, there's a strange quiet beauty. The horizon glows faintly blue beneath the polar twilight. The ice reflects the sky like liquid glass. In this stillness, you can feel the enormity of what's happening. Continents frozen mid-motion, oceans held captive, time itself slowed to a glacial crawl. It's both haunting and holy.
The maps we once used, coastlines, borders, trade routes, are now relics. The planet has drawn new lines, not with ink, but with ice. And those who survive this age will inherit a world that is utterly transformed. A world connected in ways our ancestors once walked, yet divided by cold and distance we've never known.
And that's the paradox of this frozen era. As the seas retreat, the land connects, but the people separate. The bridges that form are made of ice, fragile and temporary, linking worlds only for as long as the cold endures. When the warmth returns, and it always does, these connections will vanish beneath the tide once more. But for now, in this frozen breath of Earth, we stand upon continents reborn.
We are witnesses to the planet's rearrangement, the rewriting of its map, the shifting of its heart. The Ice Age is not just a story of cold. It's a story of motion, of transformation, of the quiet, unstoppable power that lives within Earth's cycles dot. Against every law of reason, something ancient stirs within this frozen Earth. Creatures built for cold, survivors sculpted by time itself. Tonight, we explore what it means to live when the world turns to ice.
Alex, reports are coming in from northern Canada and Siberia. Drone footage shows herds of massive creatures moving slowly across the tundra. Scientists believe they're not just descendants of old species, but the return of ancient ones. Woolly mammoths, steppe bison, even prehistoric musk oxen, their DNA preserved for millennia in the permafrost, are now walking again, revived by the changing climate and genetic reconstruction programs that began before the freeze.
It's a surreal sight, life pushing back against extinction itself. These giants move through snowfields where forests once stood, their heavy footsteps carving paths into the ice. Beneath them, the planet is alive in silence, a vast ecosystem adapting to its own rebirth. The air is colder, thinner, and the sunlight barely reaches the ground through the haze of frost. Yet these animals persist, grazing on dry tundra grass and frozen moss that cling to the last traces of soil.
We're watching evolution happen in real time. Smaller mammals, foxes, hares, even wolves, have grown thicker coats, lighter fur. Their bodies are leaner, more efficient. Entire species are shifting northward, following the cold. The food chain is reorganizing itself, layer by layer. And deep beneath the ice, new forms of life are emerging, microbial colonies that thrive in sub-zero temperatures, feeding off minerals and trapped gases in frozen lakes. It's as if nature never stopped. It just changed the rules.
In Antarctica, research stations report seismic vibrations coming from deep ice trenches, rhythmic, almost organic. Scientists are calling them glacial heartbeats. Beneath kilometers of ice, something is moving. Not animal, but alive in another way. Extremophile bacteria are forming vast biofilms beneath the glaciers, consuming ancient carbon and releasing faint plumes of methane into the frozen air. Even in death, the planet breathes.
Meanwhile, human settlements are adapting to coexist with this new wilderness. The southern cities, now the last bastions of civilization, have begun constructing artificial biodomes, massive transparent structures where remnants of the old ecosystems are being preserved. Trees, crops, even insects. Yet outside those domes, the cold reigns supreme. The line between the human world and nature's frozen empire grows thinner with each passing day.
What's most striking, Tokyo, is the silence. Drone recordings from what used to be Central Europe capture no human voices, no machinery, just the sound of the wind and distant calls of animals reclaiming the land. Entire cities, once vibrant, are now hollow shells filled with drifting snow and the occasional echo of movement. Wolves hunting through the remains of civilization, birds nesting in frozen windowsills. Nature has taken back what was hers, not in rage, but in quiet inevitability.
In Greenland, researchers captured something extraordinary, a group of polar bears that no longer depend on sea ice. Instead, they've adapted to hunt inland, preying on caribou and scavenging through frozen valleys. Their fur has thickened to withstand even the sub-60-degree cold, and their lungs have evolved to extract oxygen from the thin, frigid air. They are no longer just Arctic animals. They are Ice Age predators reborn.
Across the Pacific, remnants of human infrastructure have become sanctuaries for wildlife. Old oil rigs, now frozen in place, serve as artificial cliffs for seabirds. The skeletal remains of skyscrapers have turned into nesting towers. And on the coasts of what used to be Japan, pods of orcas navigate through slush and fractured sea ice, following the echoes of seismic shifts below. Everywhere life finds a way, bending, breaking, adapting, as the earth rewrites its rhythm.
It's strange, Alex. When the Ice Age began, humanity saw it as the end. But now, watching these creatures thrive, it feels like a beginning. The world we once called ours is no longer designed for us. It belongs to those who can withstand silence, who can live where warmth cannot. Maybe that's the message the Earth is sending, that survival isn't about power or intelligence, but patience.
You can see it in the migration patterns, too. Herds are following invisible lines of geothermal warmth, thin cracks in the ice where volcanic heat leaks from the crust. These areas have become lifelines, microclimates where liquid water still flows and hardy vegetation grows. Scientists call them thermal sanctuaries. To the animals, they are the last traces of paradise. Tokyo.
And within those sanctuaries, biologists have documented something remarkable: species cooperation. Predators and prey drinking from the same thawed pools, foxes and ravens traveling together to scavenge. It's as if, faced with extinction, nature itself has chosen balance over conflict. The ice has forced a truce, one that only the cold could teach.
But not all life adapts. Many species are vanishing quietly, unable to keep pace with the shift. Tropical birds have frozen mid-flight. Ocean life has diminished as salinity rises and light fades beneath the expanding ice shelves. The biosphere is shrinking, condensing into pockets of resilience. What remains may become the seed of Earth's next chapter, when warmth one day returns.
And humanity? We've become witnesses rather than rulers. Our satellites orbit over a white planet, scanning, recording, remembering. The archives have become the collective memory of what once was. Oceans, forests, rain, color, all replaced by a vast stillness. Yet even in this silence, there's purpose. It's as if the earth is teaching us humility through frost.
In the words of one glaciologist, ice doesn't destroy, it preserves. Everything buried beneath it, the forests, the ruins, the bones, will remain untouched, perfectly sealed in time. Perhaps, when the planet breathes warmth again, future generations will find these relics and know that life didn't end here. It simply paused.
And in that pause, Alex, the animals carry the torch. In their eyes, in their endurance, you can see the story of the earth itself, a story of cycles, of loss and rebirth. From the smallest snow hare to the towering mammoth, they embody what we've forgotten, how to live with the planet, not against it.
Somewhere tonight, under the aurora-lit skies of the far north, herds move across endless snowfields, unbothered by the cold, untouched by time. The stars above reflect in the ice below, and the line between heaven and earth disappears. The world sleeps, but it dreams of life.
And we will be here to tell that story. This is Tokyo. Stay with us, because the ice still moves, and beneath it, the heartbeat of the planet continues.
Good evening. This is Alex Mercer, coming to you from what's left of the global communications network. It's been 42 days since the last of the oceans began to freeze. The temperature outside the studio is minus 53 degrees Celsius. Most of the northern hemisphere is buried beneath miles of ice. If you're still hearing this broadcast, if your receivers are still alive, know that you are not alone. Humanity is still here. We're still talking.
Alex, as of this hour, reports confirm that the great ice sheets, once limited to the Arctic and Antarctic, have merged across the northern continents. North America, Europe, and much of Asia are now connected under one unbroken mass of frozen earth. What used to be seas are now solid plains of ancient ice. The world map, it's no longer recognizable.
We've watched the coastlines vanish under frost. Cities like London, New York, and St. Petersburg, once global centers of light, are gone, buried. Their skylines now lie beneath frozen waves, silent monuments to the warmth that once was.
But the story doesn't end with what we've lost. Tonight, we're going to talk about what comes next. How this new world, reshaped by ice, has changed the geography of our planet, and how it's forcing humanity to adapt, to move, to evolve.
Let's start with the basics. The sea levels have dropped more than 300 feet as water locks away in the glaciers. The oceans have retreated, exposing vast new stretches of land that haven't seen sunlight in millions of years. Where there was once the Bering Strait between Russia and Alaska, there is now a vast frozen land bridge again, Beringia, connecting the continents like they did in the ancient past.
Scientists used to theorize that humans first crossed that land bridge tens of thousands of years ago during the last ice age. Now, we're watching history repeat itself, but in reverse. Refugees from Alaska and eastern Siberia are moving across that same corridor, heading south in search of warmth. Entire populations trekking across the ghost of prehistory.
Satellite images, before the last few went dark, showed long columns of movement, lines of heat signatures cutting through white wilderness, the new migrations, the rebirth of nomadic humanity.
And with sea levels receding, new coastlines have emerged. The British Isles are no longer islands. They're part of mainland Europe again. The Mediterranean Sea has narrowed into a salt basin, its outer edges frozen and cracked like shattered glass. The Panama Canal? It's no longer a canal at all. The sea that once fed it has pulled away, leaving a frozen canyon where ships now sit stranded like fossils of the industrial age.
We've spoken to survivors across what used to be northern Canada and Scandinavia. They describe a world that looks alien. Forests turn to crystal cathedrals of ice, rivers frozen in mid-flow, the air so dry and cold that it cuts through fabric, through skin, through memory.
And yet, in some places, beneath all that destruction, new geography is being revealed. Ancient valleys carved by glaciers millions of years ago, long buried under soil and cities, are surfacing again. Beneath the ice, scientists, those who can still transmit data, are discovering old river systems, hidden lakes, even fossilized forests preserved perfectly by the freeze.
It's almost poetic, isn't it? The ice destroys, but it also uncovers. It erases our present, but reveals the deep past.
Yes, and it forces us to remember that Earth has always been alive, always changing, always indifferent to our sense of permanence.
The United Nations, what's left of it, relocated its last functioning council to Santiago, Chile. It's one of the few regions still habitable, where temperatures hover just below freezing instead of killing cold. Cities across the equator, Quito, Nairobi, Jakarta, are swelling with refugees. The population of the equatorial belt has tripled in the past 2 months.
Meanwhile, the great power grids of the north have gone silent. Europe's nuclear reactors were shut down to prevent meltdowns under ice. America's eastern seaboard is abandoned. Moscow is entombed beneath ice, thicker than any glacier in recorded history. Humanity has condensed into narrow ribbons of heat, bands of life around the equator, like the planet itself is breathing through a single lung.
And still, even in these dire conditions, there are stories of resilience. Solar colonies forming in the Andes, floating farms off the coast of what remains of Indonesia, scientists living in geothermal bunkers, keeping watch on the frozen world above.
The Ice Age hasn't just reshaped coastlines, it's rewritten the interior of continents. In North America, massive ice walls stretch across the Great Plains, their edges cracking like thunder as they slowly advance south. The Mississippi River is gone, frozen solid from source to delta. Where its waters once met the Gulf of Mexico, there's now a jagged plain of salt and ice stretching to the horizon.
In Europe, the Alps have fused into one colossal glacial shield. The Mediterranean winds carry icy dust now, not warmth. Africa's Sahara Desert, once scorching, has cooled into tundra. Sand turned to frost. The dunes now gleam silver under pale sunlight.
Australia remains partly habitable, though its climate is unpredictable. Storms tear across the coasts as the planet's weather systems fight for equilibrium. Scientists believe we're witnessing the formation of new wind patterns that could last for tens of thousands of years.
And under the ice, pressure, time, and gravity are sculpting the next world. Mountains will rise where glaciers press hardest. Valleys will deepen where ice carves through stone. The world we once knew will never thaw back into what it was. When this ends, if it ever ends, The continents themselves will be reborn in new shapes.
Alex, it's strange, isn't it? How the planet's history circles back on itself. We used to read about the great ice ages in textbooks, imagining the mammoths and saber-toothed cats that roamed under skies of frost. We thought of it as ancient history, something finished. But now we're living it. We've become the fossils of tomorrow.
Yes, and it's humbling. This isn't just climate change. This is the full reset of the planet's engine, the shifting of Earth's axis, the tilt of its orbit, the delicate rhythms of sunlight and ocean currents, all falling into a new balance. It's nature's way of cleansing, restarting.
And humanity, for all our cities and satellites, was never immune. We just thought we were.
Exactly. The same way the first ice age shaped our ancestors, forcing them to migrate, innovate, and adapt. This one will shape us. Maybe not for the better, maybe not for the worse, but differently.
Across the remnants of civilization, we're seeing incredible ingenuity. Underground hydroponic farms, thermal energy bunkers, drones mapping new coastlines under the frozen seas. Humanity is learning to live under the ice, not above it.
And art has survived too. Even as food grows scarce, people are painting on the walls of ice shelters, singing through radios, recording messages for whoever might find them in the next age. It's as if we know this moment, this silence, will be our story told in the next thaw.
The irony is, the colder it gets, the more we understand what warmth truly meant. Fire, light, connection, things we took for granted when the world was green. Alex Mercer.
It's true. We've become students of survival, poets of endurance.
Before we close tonight's broadcast, one last observation from the few satellites still transmitting. The southern ice sheets are expanding too, but slower. Antarctica's glaciers are merging with South America's southern tip. In a few decades, the continents may touch, creating a new landmass. The Drake Passage, the gateway between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, could vanish under ice.
And when that happens, ocean currents will change permanently. The Earth's climate will stabilize into deep freeze. That may be the point of no return, the true beginning of the planet's next geological era.
The Age of Ice. The age will be remembered by, if anyone survives to remember us.
But for now, we're still here, still talking, still adapting.
Tokyo. Still human.
Good evening, survivors. This is Alex Mercer, and you're listening to Broadcast. The storm outside hasn't stopped for 3 days. Winds are tearing across the southern plains, burying everything in white silence. But tonight, we're not talking about the cold. We're talking about life. Because even in this age of endless frost, life refuses to vanish. It adapts, it changes, it evolves. And just as the earth freezes, the wild begins to awaken again. Stronger, stranger, larger. The rise of a new generation of creatures, built for ice, born for survival. The world of the Ice Age animals has begun.
Alex, when the glaciers advanced, when forests turned to tundra and the seas retreated, something remarkable happened. Evolution accelerated. The smaller, fragile creatures of the warmer world vanished, but in their place, giants walked the earth again. It was as if nature, facing extinction, decided to build its creations stronger. Thicker hides, longer tusks, greater strength. Across the white horizon, colossal shadows moved through the blizzards. Mammoths, woolly rhinos, saber-toothed cats, and ground sloths taller than houses. These weren't just animals. They were survivors. Ancient miracles adapted to a frozen world.
Let's start with the mammoths, the kings of the Ice Age plains. Standing over 12 feet tall, weighing more than 6 tons, they ruled the frozen steppe like walking fortresses. Their shaggy fur was thicker than any animal alive today. layered with underwool that trapped heat so efficiently they could stand against temperatures that would kill a human in minutes. Their tusks, curved, sweeping arcs of ivory, were tools, weapons, and symbols of power. They used them to dig through the snow for buried grass, to fight off predators, and to shape their icy world. Herds of hundreds once roamed the tundra, moving slowly across continents that glittered beneath pale suns.
And wherever the mammoths went, the world followed. They shaped the landscape itself. Scientists, before the signal from their Arctic stations went dark, spoke of mammoth steppe ecosystems, vast plains kept open by these giants' movements. They trampled snow, cleared trees, spread seeds through frozen soil. Without them, the land would have choked under its own frost. They were the gardeners of the cold, maintaining balance through their sheer presence. Every footstep was a heartbeat of the Ice Age.
But where there are giants, there are hunters. And in the frozen forests of what was once North America and Eurasia, predators evolved to match their prey. Enter the saber-toothed cat, Smilodon fatalis. Muscles coiled like steel beneath a golden pelt, fangs longer than human hands. These creatures didn't chase. They ambushed, waiting in silence, hidden by snowdrifts, striking with terrifying precision. One bite, one slash, and the prey would collapse, blood freezing before it hit the ground. They hunted in packs, working together like wolves, driven by hunger and the endless cold. Theirs was a brutal beauty, the elegance of necessity.
The Ice Age was full of contrasts like that. Destruction and creation, death and adaptation. In the shadow of glaciers, life found strange new forms. Take the woolly rhinoceros, massive beasts covered in fur so dense they looked like living boulders. They lived on the grasslands that bordered the ice, scraping the frozen ground with their horns to reach the vegetation beneath. Fossil records, those few we managed to scan before the northern sites froze completely, show scars across their horns, marks from territorial battles that could shake the earth. These animals weren't just survivors, they were champions of endurance. Each one was a declaration of defiance against extinction.
And then there were the giants that didn't hunt or fight, the gentle titans of the south. The ground sloths, especially Megatherium, could stand 20 feet tall when reaching for the branches of frost-bitten trees. They moved slowly, deliberately, conserving energy in a world where every calorie meant life or death. Imagine walking through a frozen valley and seeing one of those colossal shapes moving in silence, steam rising from its fur, eyes ancient and calm, as if it remembered warmer days. These creatures were ghosts of evolution, leftovers from a time when the planet was green, still holding on under skies of snow.
And yet, Alex, the most haunting part of this story isn't their size or power, it's how they live together. The Ice Age world wasn't chaos, it was balance. Mammoths opened pathways for grazers. Grazers fed the predators. Predators kept populations in check. Everything depended on everything else. Even in that frozen wilderness, there was harmony, a perfect fragile rhythm that held the world together for tens of thousands of years.
Exactly. It's ironic, isn't it? Humans often talk about survival as struggle, as violence. But these Ice Age giants didn't survive through dominance. They survived through adaptation, through coexistence.
And let's not forget the humans of that time, the hunters who followed the herds. They were small compared to the beasts around them, but their intelligence made them dangerous. The early humans of the Ice Age respected these animals as gods, spirits, ancestors. They painted mammoths on cave walls, carved rhinos into ivory, sang songs of the great cats. Every hunt was a prayer, every kill a ritual. Those people didn't see themselves as separate from the world, they were part of it, woven into the same cold tapestry.
Now, as we face this new ice age, it's hard not to draw parallels. The cold returns, and we too are forced to adapt. Perhaps we're walking backward through history, becoming again the hunters, the wanderers, the survivors we once were. Maybe this new age will bring back the spirit of the old one.
What fascinates me most, Alex, is how those creatures evolved for extremes. Their fur, their fat, their size, all answers to the same question. How do you endure when the world itself turns against you? It's the same question humanity faces now. When warmth disappears, what becomes our armor? Knowledge, compassion, technology? Or will we too grow thicker skins and colder hearts to survive?
That's the lesson hidden in their bones, Tokyo. Adaptation isn't just biology, it's philosophy. The mammoths grew hair, the cats grew teeth, the rhinos grew horns, but they also grew patience, stillness, resilience. They didn't fight the cold, they became part of it.
And yet, they didn't last forever. As the ice began to retreat thousands of years later, as the world warmed again, their size, once their advantage, became their curse. The grasslands shrank, food grew scarce. And with the arrival of humans, skilled with tools and fire, the giants fell. One by one, they vanished. Mammoths, rhinos, sloths, all gone. Their era ended as quietly as it began. The warmth that returned to Earth was their extinction.
That's the tragedy of the Ice Age, isn't it? Survival never guarantees forever. The same cycle that gives life eventually takes it back. And maybe, just maybe, that's how the world stays in balance.
Still, I can't help but wonder. Out there, beneath the glaciers, beneath layers of ice miles thick, what if something survived? Frozen in suspended animation, DNA preserved perfectly, waiting for a spark of warmth to return. Scientists once spoke about de-extinction, about bringing mammoths back to life. Now, with the ice returning on its own, perhaps the Earth will awaken them again. Not through science, but through memory, through time itself resetting its clock.
If that's true, if somewhere under this ice there are mammoths waiting to rise again, then maybe this new ice age isn't just an ending. Maybe it's a resurrection, the return of the old world, a frozen rebirth.
And if they do return, I hope we've learned enough not to fear them, to coexist as our ancestors once did. Because in a world this cold, survival isn't competition, it's connection.
You're right. Out there in the blinding white, something ancient stirs, and as we huddle around our small fires, sending our words into the static, we can almost hear them, the slow thunder of heavy footsteps in the snow, the echo of breath from creatures that owned this planet long before us. The Ice Age isn't just returning, it's remembering.
Tokyo. This is Tokyo.
And I'm Alex Mercer. Stay warm, stay alive. And if you hear the sound of heavy steps in the snow, remember, they were here first. I'm Alex Mercer. The temperature outside the broadcast compound has dropped to minus 58 degrees. The wind tonight sounds different, heavier, almost like breathing. Maybe that's why this story feels so alive. Because once, long before us, there were others who walked through this same cold, who faced the same endless white and the same terrible hunger. Tonight, we remember them, the first hunters of the Ice Age, the ones who looked upon the mammoth and did not run, the ones who turned fear into strategy and survival into art.
When we talk about the humans of the Ice Age, we're not talking about primitives. We're talking about people, just like us, facing an environment that wanted them dead every single day. They didn't have metal or walls or warmth beyond what they could make with their own hands. And yet, they did what seemed impossible. They hunted the giants of their world, not with strength, but with intelligence, not with technology, but with unity. Imagine it. A group of 20 men and women, faces painted with ash, furs pulled tight against the wind, standing at the edge of a frozen valley. In the distance, a herd of mammoths moves through the mist, massive, ancient, unstoppable. The humans know this hunt might take days, maybe weeks. One mistake, and they die. But they also know that one successful hunt could feed their entire tribe through another month of cold. Every step they take toward that herd is a step between extinction and survival.
The strategy was patience. The Ice Age hunters understood the rhythms of the beasts better than any predator alive today. They watched, they tracked, they studied every trail, every droplet of frozen breath, every indentation in the snow. They could tell from a single footprint if the animal was weak, sick, or protecting its young. They waited until the herd reached narrow valleys or river crossings, places where escape was harder and fear spread faster. Then they struck. Spears carved from bone and stone, hardened by fire, tipped with obsidian so sharp it could slice through hide as thick as armor. They didn't attack head-on. They surrounded, confused, divided. The strongest hunters drove the animal toward traps, hidden pits, snow-covered ditches, walls of flame built from frozen brush soaked in rendered fat. Others threw spears from a distance, striking legs, tendons, weak points. It wasn't chaos, it was choreography, survival rehearsed through generations.
And there was something spiritual about it. Every Ice Age hunt began with ritual. Before the first spear was lifted, they spoke to the spirits of the animals. They asked for permission, for forgiveness. These hunters didn't see themselves as conquerors. They saw themselves as part of a circle, prey and predator sharing the same breath of frost. When a mammoth fell, it wasn't victory. It was reverence. They used everything, the meat, the fat, the bones, even the tusks. From those tusks they carved tools, ornaments, and idols. Some of those carvings have been found buried beneath ice, shaped like women, like gods, like the memory of fire. Those carvings weren't trophies. They were promises, to the land, to the spirits, to themselves, that nothing would be wasted.
There's a kind of poetry in that, isn't there? Humans weren't yet separate from nature. They were its students, learning to survive by listening. The hunters didn't see the mammoth as a monster. They saw it as a teacher. Every hunt revealed something. How to read the wind, how to work as one, how to endure. The Ice Age didn't just forge their bodies, it forged their minds. It taught them patience, planning, and the unspoken rhythm of teamwork. You can picture it now. The final moment of the hunt. The mammoth, wounded and cornered, trumpeting into the wind, its breath turning to mist. The hunters stand around it in silence. No cheers, no celebration. Just awe, because they know what it means. They know the cost of life in a world this cold.
And yet, despite the danger, they never stopped. They hunted not just to eat, but to evolve. Every successful hunt meant new knowledge, new techniques passed down through generations. Mothers teaching sons how to sharpen stone, fathers teaching daughters how to throw a spear against the wind. Over time, they began to build new tools, atlatls, throwing sticks that launched spears with twice the force. It was invention born from necessity, and necessity, as we've learned again in our own frozen age, is the spark of civilization. They began hunting other creatures too, the woolly rhino, the bison, even the cave bear. Each hunt changed them, shaping their language, their myths, their art. Their stories were told around firelight reflected off walls of ice, their shadows dancing beside the shapes of mammoths they painted on stone. Every drawing was both memory and prayer. We hunted, we lived, we remember.
Tokyo, sometimes I wonder, if those hunters could see us now, shivering under steel roofs and electric lights, would they think we've advanced? Or would they pity us for forgetting what they knew instinctively? That survival is not about control, it's about harmony. They didn't have technology to protect them. They had trust in each other and in the rhythm of nature. That trust kept them alive for tens of thousands of years. And maybe that's what we've lost. When the cold came back to our world, we didn't listen to the land. We tried to fight it, to dominate it. But those ancient hunters, they would have adapted. They would have known where to go, how to move, how to wait. We've built towers and engines, but they built instinct. And instinct doesn't fail when the world turns to ice.
There's also the emotional truth of the hunt, the fear. The stories passed down in Ice Age myth speak of the terror of facing beasts that could crush a human underfoot. Many tribes believed the mammoth spirit could curse those who killed it without respect. Some believed that every spear thrown carried a piece of the hunter's soul, and that too many hunts would drain it away. Fear wasn't weakness, it was balance. It kept them from overhunting, from destroying the very creatures that gave them life. It's strange how that wisdom feels distant now. Even as we face our own frozen extinction, we struggle to remember humility, but they lived by it. They knew that arrogance was death in a world that didn't forgive mistakes.
And when the hunt was over, the tribe would gather. Fires would burn low, the meat would roast, the bones would crack in the heat. The air would fill with the sound of drums, made from stretched hide, and voices rising in ancient songs. They sang to thank the animal, to thank the earth. The children watched, wide-eyed, learning not just how to hunt, but how to remember. That's how culture began, not in temples or cities, but around those fires in the snow, where gratitude met survival. Those songs still echo Tokyo, not in language, but in instinct. Every time we struggle, every time we adapt, some ancient memory in us whispers those same words. You have done this before. You have survived worse.
Yes, the Ice Age made us who we are. It forced us to become thinkers, builders, storytellers. It gave us fear, and it gave us courage. The mammoth may be gone, but its lesson remains. Strength is nothing without wisdom, and survival is meaningless without respect. In every storm, in every frozen night, the echo of those hunters lives within us. They were the first to stand against the impossible and win.
Maybe that's why, even now, when we face extinction again, I believe we still have a chance, because we carry their fire. We carry the memory of those who walked before us, spears in hand, eyes fixed on the horizon. The world froze once, and we adapted. It's freezing again, and we will adapt again. That's what it means to be human. This is Alex Mercer. Tonight's transmission will be our last for this series, and perhaps the most haunting one we've ever shared. For thousands of years, the Earth was ruled by giants, mammoths, saber-toothed cats, woolly rhinos, colossal sloths. But one day, they were gone. Not slowly, not over ages, but in what scientists called a sudden silence. An extinction so fast, it felt like the world itself simply stopped breathing. And the question that still echoes across millennia is, why? What ended the age of the great beasts?
It's one of the oldest mysteries written in the ice. The mammoth bones scattered across frozen tundra, the empty footprints of vanished predators. They tell fragments of a story, but not its ending. There are theories, of course. Some say it was us, humans, who ended the giants through relentless hunting. Others say it was the planet itself, changing faster than life could keep up. And some whisper of fire from the skies. a cosmic accident that reset the clock of evolution. But whatever the cause, one truth remains. The Ice Age giants did not fall quietly. They fought, they adapted, and they endured, until the world beneath them changed beyond recognition.
Let's start with the simplest and most brutal theory: overhunting. Humans, newly armed with strategy, fire, and intelligence, had become apex predators. They didn't just hunt for survival anymore. They hunted with precision. Herd after herd of mammoths were cornered, driven into ravines or toward frozen lakes where the ice couldn't hold their weight. Entire populations vanished in a generation. Archaeologists found kill sites filled with bones and spear points, scenes of both triumph and tragedy. We became masters of the hunt, but that mastery had a cost. The mammoth, the woolly rhino, even the massive bison, all fell beneath human spears. It was survival, yes, but it was also excess, a lesson humanity would repeat across history. Take too much and the balance breaks.
And yet, Alex, not every scientist agrees. Some say that humanity alone could never have destroyed so many species across so vast a world. They believe the real killer was the planet itself. The ice began to melt. Slowly at first, then faster. Rivers swelled, forests returned, and the tundra, once home to millions of grazing animals, turned to swamp and mud. The cold grasses that fed the mammoths disappeared. The dry plains that supported the saber-tooths drowned under new rain. The giants, built for the chill, found themselves stranded in warmth. Their coats became burdens. Their size became weakness. While smaller, faster animals thrived in the new climate, the giants starved. Their bones sank into melting permafrost, buried in the very earth they once ruled. Climate, not cruelty, may have been their undoing. The same ice that gave them life had turned against them.
But there's a third theory, one older than science, almost mythic. Around 12,000 years ago, something strange happened across the planet. Ash layers, sudden fires, a drop in global temperature that didn't fit the normal rhythm of the Earth. Some researchers found traces of microscopic glass, evidence of an explosion far above the ground. They called it the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. A meteor, or perhaps a swarm of them, might have struck the ice sheets of North America, vaporizing land, igniting forests and plunging the world into darkness again. The sky burned, the oceans boiled, and the beasts that survived the first age of ice met their end in fire. Whether it was a single impact or many, the evidence hints at something catastrophic, a world-ending moment, quick, merciless, final.
Whatever the cause, the result was the same: silence. The plains that once thundered with herds grew still. The predators that roared across valleys went quiet. The mammoths fell one by one, the last of them retreating to the remote islands of the Arctic, where they lived for thousands of lonely years, growing smaller with every generation, until even they were gone. The giants became ghosts, remembered only in the stories of the people who once hunted them. Those people, the Ice Age humans, adapted, as they always did. They turned from hunting giants to herding smaller animals. They built new tools, new lives. And slowly, from the ashes of extinction, the first seeds of civilization began to grow. The death of one world gave birth to another.
It's strange to think about, isn't it? How the end of the giants was also the beginning of us. The same hands that threw spears at mammoths would one day build temples and cities. The same eyes that watched the northern lights over frozen plains would one day gaze at the glow of electricity. The extinction that ended their age opened the door to ours. But the ice remembers. Deep beneath the glaciers, in bones frozen solid for 40,000 years, their DNA still whispers. It tells us that the Earth never forgets. Every rise, every fall, every extinction, it's all part of the same story. The story of adaptation, the story of survival.
Maybe that's what this new ice age, the one we live in now, is trying to remind us, that we are not separate from nature, that when we take too much, when we forget the balance, the cycle begins again. The cold returns. The world resets. The Ice Age wasn't just a time in history, it was a lesson, a reminder that life is fragile, and that even the mightiest can fall when the planet shifts beneath them.
The mammoths, the saber-tooths, the rhinos, they were never meant to last forever. But in their rise and fall, they left us a legacy far greater than bones. They taught us how to endure, how to adapt, how to live through endings. And now, as our own world freezes once more, maybe it's time to remember that. Because survival isn't about strength. It's about understanding, about respect, about remembering that every flame we light is borrowed from something older, something wild.
And so, as the last of the warmth fades, as we look back at a world swallowed by ice and silence, we're reminded that every ending carries the seed of a beginning. The Ice Age was never just a story of extinction. It was a story of transformation, of how the planet fell asleep beneath the snow, only to awaken new, reshaped, and wiser.
The giants are gone, but their echoes remain in the fossils beneath our feet, in the DNA we carry, and in the lessons we still haven't learned. Earth doesn't end. It changes. It adapts. It waits. And one day, when the ice retreats again, the world will begin a new chapter, one that we can only imagine.
We've walked through fire and frost, through creation and extinction, from mammoths to modernity, from the first spark to the frozen horizon, and through it all, one truth has endured. Life always finds a way.
This is Alex Mercer. Our broadcast fades here, not because the story ends, but because it continues beyond the microphone, in every gust of wind, every glacier's sigh, every heartbeat of this living planet.
Thank you for walking with us through the Ice Age, through the silence, the cold, the beauty, and the end. Until our next transmission, stay curious, stay awake.
And listen, because even in the quietest world, the earth is still speaking.